Chapter 8 is all about ethics reporting. You would think that somebody sees something wrong and bad, people would speak up about it. But research shows that that's not the case. According to very solid scholarly research, only half the people that see something wrong say anything about it. The other half remain quiet. So the chapter talks about that. Why is it that people remain quiet? From a manager's point of view, how can you become the type of manager that people want to approach and talk to you? Because a lot of times people don't raise ethical issues to their bosses because they're afraid of it. They're afraid of the boss. They're afraid they may get fired. They're afraid that the messenger might get killed. Or people are afraid that it might be used against them on their performance appraisals because they said, and they're afraid they might be called a squealer. So we've been habituated not to become squealers, but nonetheless the person knows that somebody's stealing product, or the person knows that somebody is being sexually harassed. And if the person doesn't tell you that, you're going to have a huge lawsuit. So you want your employees to tell you these things, but not to perceive themselves as being squealers. And that's what the chapter deals with. The chapter talks about an ethics and compliance officer. Large organizations have those, not small ones, and what the duties are. But the duties of an ethics compliance officer could be done in a small organization. Some organizations have ombudsman or an ombudsperson. And for an ombudsperson, an employee comes to me and says, Dick is harassing Jane. As an ombudsperson, I need to investigate that. And if that is true, I need to report that to the appropriate authority in the organization. Some companies hire chaplains. Chaplains are there to discuss family issues. Maybe somebody in their family is going through chemotherapy. Maybe somebody has cancer. Maybe somebody's committing adultery. And those things affect your work. If a spouse of mine is going through chemotherapy, when I get to work, I'm going to be concerned about my spouse and the chemotherapy, my spouse's cancer, because I love my spouse. So those becomes issues, and then chaplains then are very, very good at getting other issues to help them out with. Ethics hotlines, ethics assist lines, I do the best practices on how to do that. You want to make sure that there's a way for people to anonymously report ethical misdeeds, because a lot of people are afraid to attach their names to that. The problem with that is that maybe they're going to give you false information. So you also have to manage the ethics hotline so that if somebody does give false information, maybe somebody lies about somebody that they're competing up for a job against, you have to be able to find that out and be able to punish the person somehow or other. And then also talks a lot about confidentiality. I teach business ethics. I've been doing it for 20 years. I always have people coming to my office and saying, you're a nice guy, let me tell you about some situations I'm involved in. And usually, I don't have to solve their problems. They already know how to solve that problem. Because I always ask them, well, what do you think you should do? And they say the right answer 99% of the time. And I'll say, great, now go out and do it, and then tell me what happens later on. The chapter ends with whistleblowing. This book is all best practices, but as you know, not every organization is perfect. Whistleblowing damages the organization because it's bad media, and it also damages the whistleblower. I myself blew the whistle on a few things earlier in my life. A lot of stress in your life. It's not an easy thing to do. You see your name in the newspaper. All of a sudden, some employees don't want to have lunch with you anymore because you're the whistleblower and they don't know if they can trust you. Meanwhile, you did it for good reasons to help the organization. And then all of a sudden your performance appraisals that used to be very good are now sort of getting lower because people just don't know if they can really trust you anymore because you're no longer a team player because you went outside the system and you are now disloyal. Meanwhile, I thought I was being loyal to the leaders of the organization. So there's a section all about whistleblowing, the dangers of whistleblowing, but nonetheless, if something has to get done, and if nothing else works, you do that. But that's the last thing you do, not the first thing you do.